Hey everyone, this is Mr. Day here, aka OwnageSage, with another video. This time it's going to be on the subject of gaming PCs. Gaming PCs specifically using retro video game console cases. Just the cases. I mean, modding is pretty big nowadays. Everybody seems to be modding everything they can. And if you go on YouTube or Google, you can actually find several modders and people out there that have modded their retro video game consoles, such as their NESs, Super NESs, and even some Nintendo 64s to house gaming PCs, full-on, you know, HD PCs, gaming PCs, personal, whatever you would call it. Yeah, so I just wanted to talk more about that. I haven't seen that many videos on YouTube going in depth and explaining what is possible, what are the capabilities of these machines. So let's get into it. Alright. I'm on the website right now. It's called IMGer. And this guy on here, I couldn't no longer find him on IMGer, so I don't think he's on here anymore. But he went by the name of I Started the War. And he posted on here, this is what the post was called: I made a gaming PC inside of a Nintendo 64. And the first image that we see is the case of the N64. Obviously this is a case for the Nintendo 64 with, yeah, a computer inside of it. A fully functional gaming computer. And he goes on to give us the specs of it. He's running an A10 7850K chip and 8 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM on a 128GB solid state drive, I would imagine, because hard drives would be out of the question unless you would make it work. I mean, for a Nintendo 64. And he's using a 150 watt Pico PSU power supply unit. I'll talk more on that later. Alright, and then he's also telling us, notice his little fan shrouds right here, which is actually pretty cool for giving extra cooling. There's one right there and there's one down here. Alright, this is a nice top-down view of it. So I'm gonna use this image right here to explain a little bit about computers for those who aren't the most computer savvy. What you're looking at is basically the internals of a computer itself. This is the motherboard. I'm trying to outline it, but this entire big square shaped board is called the motherboard, and it's got a bunch of things on it: resistors, transistors, ports and slots, etc. This right here, these two sticks, are the RAM, random access memory. These two are 4 gig DDR3 in particular. Obviously RAM is modifiable. You can put more or less. This right here is the PCI slot. So this is where the graphics card would go. This particular mod has no graphics card, which is quite surprising. But then again, this was uploaded back then. Anyways, what you see here, this is the fan that goes directly on top of the CPU. And this cable right here, probably the last thing I'll talk about that you see running all the way here, is the power adapter. That's the extension cable for the power. This is the power line right here. I'll talk more about the Pico PSUs later. Alright, let's get on to the next image. This is a rear view. This is the I/O, input-output. You can see the power coming in, USB, more auxiliary, 3.0s. Go down a little bit. Here, just let me close this ad. Annoying ads. Alright, and this is the inside of the top cover of the Nintendo 64. And here's the SSD that he was talking about, that he basically just glued onto the top cover. And then you can also see that he covered this, which is interesting because I'm gonna try to make one of these, and yeah, I'll be making videos updating on how I'm going with everything, considering or regarding the Nintendo 64 PC build. And I'm gonna be implementing a graphics card, and I'm probably going to be putting it inside of a Nintendo 64 cartridge. So here's a nice back view. I mean, and then he cut out the bottom right here for parts for the components and heat dissipation as well. Beautiful console, look at it. Wow. Beautiful piece. And who would expect that there's a full-on gaming PC inside of that? I mean, imagine just busting this out and you know, attaching a mouse to it and a keyboard. Yeah, you'll get quite a few heads turning. Yep. Alright, so let me talk more about the graphics card and how I would maybe implement that. So if we go back up here, we see the PCI port, which accepts the PCI card or the graphics card. Let me just, for instance, GeForce is a well-trusted company, and they have the GTX 10 series. 10 series. So if we go to images, these are normal graphics cards. They're pretty big and bulky, so as you imagine, that probably wouldn't fit inside of an N64 cartridge. However, 1050, if you look at the 1050s, and I'm pretty sure they have some 1060s and other graphics cards that, I'm just looking at the GeForce GTX graphics cards, because if you look at them, they really, this one, it's not that big, and I'm sure that someone would be able to fit it inside of an N64 cartridge if they had the width. You know, maybe cut out a little piece of in the back of the cartridge for the fan, and this right here would go on these pins right here. This is what I'm talking about. These pins wouldn't be able to fit directly on top of the port here, because the case, it would be sticking out like halfway up here. So what I found, these things, PCI extensions, do you see how small the pins are on that? Or low profile, I mean? That would definitely fit on this. And then you'd be able to maneuver the cable because it's flexible. And you'd be able to maybe rest it underneath this right here, where the cartridge would go in, and then you would just pop in your graphics card. It's really neat. I've been thinking about it. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Nintendo 64, just to show you guys you can put a PC inside of it. Motherboards, there are different types of motherboards. Obviously you wouldn't be able to put certain components. You'd have to do your research and on what components and hardware you'd be able to use. You know, you'd have to measure the dimensions of the case, the inner dimensions and whatnot. These boards are called ITX boards. They are purposed for portable builds, like smaller PC builds, and so ITX boards would be the primary candidate to use for Nintendo 64 gaming PCs and such. However, if you're trying to make an NES PC, because of the bigger case, just to show you guys, people are doing this. It's really cool. Yeah, the case is a lot bigger inside. Look, this guy fit a hard drive in there. You would most likely be able to get away with using non-ITX motherboard. Sorry about this, guys. Let me just stupid pop-ups. Okay, well, here, before I go, SNES PC. Also, the Super Nintendo can be modded. Yeah, do you guys get the point? Well, that's all I have for you guys today regarding the Nintendo 64 PCs. Again, I will be updating you guys on what's going on with my particular N64 PC build. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll stay tuned for that. Alright, as always, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget about that. And I'll see you guys next time.